Thank the chairwoman, and I appreciate her organizing this very distinguished panel today, and I appreciate the panel being here. The Export-Import Bank can trace its origins back to the 1930s. One of its first loans was extended to China for the construction of the Burma Road, an important supply route when China found itself at war with Japan, and certainly a hard-fought path during World War II. I raise this example to underscore how much has changed in the intervening 8 decades, but also to highlight what must remain constant as we approach a reauthorization of XM. Our relations with China and Japan, not to mention their internal governance, have undergone a dramatic transformation since XM's founding. But the use of XM as a tool of our national interest and even our national security interest has increased importance today. China is providing unparalleled levels of export subsidies for its companies, especially its state-owned enterprises, with the goal of dominating the technologies of tomorrow and extending its influence through the Belt and Road Initiative. In the face of this challenge, no one expects the Export-Import Bank to single-handedly neutralize China's efforts. But as we continue to examine how to modernize XM, it's imperative that we look reality in the eye and adapt the bank to the present day. This means focusing XM on the exports of the future. It means supporting jobs that are central to the culture of competitiveness and innovation. This is how XM can best advance U.S. leadership in the face of China's plans. At the same time, we have to recognize that our competitiveness is not just a product of America's largest companies, but also springs from our startups and small businesses, a unique source of vigor that distinguishes us not just from China, but from every other country on the globe. I'm confident that members from both parties want to ensure that XM allows our small exporters to grow and flourish by seeking out new markets. Let me conclude by noting that while XM must be better adapted to confront Beijing's ambitions, we continue to hope for a future where the Chinese government joins the international order and adheres to the standards of developed nations, including standards governing export subsidies. As we know, on this day, 30 years ago, the Communist Party trampled on its people's calls for reform in the Tiananmen Square massacre, the remembrance of which is still suppressed to this day by leaders in Beijing. So while we continue to work towards a peaceful and constructive relationship with China, I hope we will remain clear-eyed about the nature of its regime, especially as we consider how to employ XM's resources much more strategically going forward. I yield to the subcommittee ranking member on this very subject, Leader Steve Stivers.
Thank you, Ranking Member McHenry. I want to thank the chair for